as a fellow parent, when I do raise my voice or when I get really firm with my kids, I've beaten myself up so bad about that. And I'm like, oh man, like I need to be more loving. And then I'm thinking to myself, how would my children turn out if I were to bite my tongue and not say what's coming up for me naturally in a moment? And I'm curious about that. I don't even fully have the answer, but I think oftentimes we, in culture especially, and like you go to Japan and there's this like super like niceness and like where they walk around and they don't make eye contact because that could be uncomfortable. Super often, I think in Middle East, you can't show the soles of your feet to one another. So if you're crossing your legs and you're showing your feet to somebody, that's rude. Is that an absence of love, or like when you just cannot stand something that's happening and you just like ferociously lash out at somebody? Is that not also a part of love? It channeled through another way. And I'm not saying this like I know it. It's something that I've pondered, because like there is a field of love that lies beyond what I can even conceptualize. I was just hanging out with Mickey Willis, Plandemic guy, and he was saying that he's worked with some people, and there's all the formalities, and like if you're upset at somebody, and you just met them, like maybe you just keep your mouth shut, and then eventually he got to this one point, or this person got to this one point where they blew up on him, and he was like, "I love this new you. Like I want you to speak as radically honest as you just spoke to me." And I don't mind the anger. I don't mind the vitriol that I felt coming out of it, because like this is a side of you that feels raw and real and truthful. And perhaps your entire cultural way of getting along with people is partly a violation of who you truly are and what you would truly want to say. And so there is something interesting about our concept of how to be unconditionally loving. Like when I have to teach my child that you don't want to put your hand in fire, do I tell them? Do I yell so it spooks them?
Yeah.
Do I let them touch it? It's hard to know. And I think that's what makes this thing a playground, a school yard as well. We're learning the many ways and the many, like, let's say, costumes that love can don.
Unconditional love, so good. Are you guys loving this? I am. Unconditional love is not a selfless, boundaryless, infinite thing. Unconditional love includes I, or the self, if you want to put that word on it. So yes, for example, wellness is about the we. Illness is about the I. When I make shit only about me all the time, eventually illness creeps in. It's just because it's there to wake me up. When I make wellness about the we, then I understand that I am actually a part of your life. Like we're creating an energy today, right? So I'm in support of your dream. You're in support of mine. There's an alignment from an energetic perspective where I believe in you and you believe in me, but we can still be ourselves. There's unconditional love there. Now, this isn't a triggering space, right? Because we haven't spent that much time together. I'm sure if we were best friends, then eventually we'd trigger each other and then we'd know about each other more. So I love this aspect of the dark and the crunchy and the argumentative being part of love, because how the hell could we know wet without dry?
Right.
How could we know light without dark? It's just actually impossible, but yet there's just this hyper focus, Ben, and I'm sure you've seen this, man, on good vibes only, and it's all love and light, brother. And it's just such a pacification of life itself to have that mindset. I'm not judging people with that mindset.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, from a different perspective, if you can see the all, that includes the really ugly, gross stuff that you may not want to see.
Right.
And I think that's the part of the story that we actually build maturity by just engaging with, to a certain degree, to a healthy degree. So in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is, like, unconditional love is not where you have no boundaries, that you can just welcome people in to crush your heart.
Yeah.
That's not, because you have to have unconditional love for yourself before you can ever give it to someone else. So that was a distinction I made maybe a year ago, or I had a lot of tethers to my mom and a lot of tethers to my dad and just a lot of tethers to people, where I thought by me opening my heart to those people that continued to bring me pain, that I was doing my work, brother, and I was unconditionally loving them, which is a fucking trap. It's an absolute trap. So if I'm unconditionally loving people in my life, I also am loving myself unconditionally, where I'm setting healthy boundaries to where their cords can't hook.
Yeah.
To where they can't siphon my energy or be a parasite to my energy field. Have you seen this play out in your own life?
Yeah. For me, I've as a parent, I've long thought of, what am I teaching my child that doesn't come through words, but it comes through the actions? Like if somebody is being a certain way to me, and I feel like saying something, but I don't because I want to set a good example for my kid. Did I? Did I just set a good example by biting my tongue and not saying what I was really feeling?
Yeah.
No, there's a very real answer to this. Maybe there are several ways by which I can, without going way overboard, set my boundary. Maybe there's several ways, but it's really all circling around a very small, area of you say what I felt based upon what you just did, and I can say that in a way where I'm not picking a further fight. I'm not escalating the fight. I'm setting a boundary and I'm being clear. I'm adding clarity to the moment, standing up for my boundary while not violating yours. That's the truest that I've found. Like if I can teach my kids that, where if somebody's bullying you in school, stand up for your boundary. But does that mean you beat their head against the wall because you're bigger? It's like, no, that doesn't feel right either. So these examples, they require you to not find, but eventually it'll find you, the tricky, darker moments where you come up upon somebody who like, man, they really trigger you, or they really scare you, or they really do something, but you got to put skin in the game. You got to do what MLK did. He wasn't looking for ease and convenience. He did the hard thing because he knew that thing needed somebody to champion it, to be an example. They needed a character to exemplify, this is what you stand up for. This is my story. This is how I contribute my verse to it. So in a sense, with my kids, like I want them to see me at my lowest, and I want to be able to bring to them an example of like, here's what I've learned of how you approach these moments that feel like, oh, I don't want to experience any of that. No, you do. You want to, conquer is not the right word. You want to like master those moments. And it's not like you're welcoming those very painful, triggering moments, but when they arise, like, I'm not the super controversial, not controversial, but like, I'm not the type that calls people out all the time. There's some people that I'll say anything to anybody. And it's just like, okay, is that cool? I don't know. I'm sure that there's a time and a place for that, but are you just feeling all cocky about yourself?
If that's your whole identity, then it's probably obtuse.
Right. Because it's got this arrogant, I'll say anything. I'm not scared of anybody. Oh, you're in the macho thing. I get it.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
I'm not that type, but there are moments where I call somebody out on their stuff. When I realize like, you know what? This is that moment. I don't know how to explain it. This happened in Peru after ayahuasca. It was the facilitator who, I was there with my now wife, Barbara, and I was sat in ceremony the night before. It was great, but there was a few things that kind of bothered me. And then the next day, he was like, Ben, we're going to do the sharing circle. And I was just like, I actually have to get this work done because I was doing film work. And he said, nope, we're doing the sharing circle. And that was when I knew, because my feedback was going to be about him, that was when I knew, oh, his higher self is calling me, come on, let's do this. So when we sat there and it got around to me, it made everybody comfortable. But I was just like, well, the sharing that I have to do is about you. And he was like, okay. And like everybody kind of got really uncomfortable and I could feel it. So I spoke to that. I was like, I know this is uncomfortable, but I don't know how else to do this. The way you did this and the way you did this and the way you did this, I felt is incongruent with the work here. And 3 people sighed at that moment. Like there was this, he spoke to exactly what I was feeling. And they came up to me afterwards. And it went really well to just close that story off. But other people came up to me and it's like, I was feeling that, but I didn't even have the words for it. So thank you for sharing that. It was uncomfortable for me for sure. At first I really didn't want to do it, but I knew, I was like, okay, the medicine, like this is what you do. You in a sharing circle, you come clean.
Yep.
bro, there's this thing that's bothering me about you. And that earned a level of respect between he and I because we had that deeper moment. Had I not done that, we wouldn't have gone deep.
I have had so many moments like that where I will challenge someone that surrounds themselves with yes men or yes women, and they just respect the shit out of me for that. I mean, I've had business come through, not intentionally. I wasn't like trying to have business happen with this person. But there's so many figureheads in spirituality specifically, man. Because spirituality and being a facilitator or a teacher in spirituality can be a bit of a fucking narcissistic mask that many people wear. Not all of them.
Yeah.
There's amazing, beautiful facilitators out there. But for the ones that are serving from their wound and their wound is actually clouding their wisdom as they serve, those are the people that call forth the Ben Stewarts in that moment to give them, like you said, this attunement to their higher self. And it's so paradoxical because that probably, I would assume it shocked the guy up front, right?
It did. Like his posture, everyone's posture.
He was like, what is this guy doing?
Everyone's butthole puckered. Let me just say it that way.
But it's in those moments where the reason people exhaled is because, and I know I'm speaking reductionistically, for the most part, the truth is light. There's been so many moments, I'm sure, from someone with us, either watching or listening, that they've exhaled really big because there's just been truth that's shared. Whether it's subjective or objective, it's truth that they're experiencing. And then there's been moments where maybe some of the stuff we've explored has brought tension to the nervous system and they've held their breath. And both those things are really valid because it gives them a template or a mirror to see what resonates with them. Like, we're not here to tell people how to think. I'm definitely not. I'm here to offer a different perspective or seeing your life through a different lens. And the only way that I've ever done that in my whole life, man, is just at least being open to when I feel that fear, when I want to share. I just did a 4-day breathwork training, somatic breathwork training. It just ended yesterday.
Amazing.
And it was so wild watching the people cultivate in real time the courage to share. Because breathwork is extremely potent. It's psychedelics without psychedelics. I know you've gone deep into breathwork before.
For sure.
And the movements and the energy and the things that the true healing that happens in the presence of spirit, or that's what breath is, right? In spiritus, the true presence that someone can share from when they've cleaned out all the gunk and garbage from their nervous system is so healing, so profound. It's like we crave it, dude. It's like the Turkish delight. It's like the forbidden fruit. Like, if you love that video, you'll love the one on the screen right now. Click the one on the screen and enjoy.